Well, I've been introduced as a filmmaker, and so I thought maybe the first thing I ought to do is play you a sequence of the kind of characters that I have in my films, of these short films. So it's going to be a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to tell you about a dream, a teenage dream, but it's not what you think, okay? Lights, please.
Beautiful.
It's your last day in this world. Oh, you have to enjoy your last day.
I'm sorry. That's the way it is.
I think I'm a freedom fighter. I'm a freedom fighter.
Like, I can say things and actually believe some of what comes out of my mouth.
It's inspirational, I guess, to walk through the doors and feel the love that you feel from the people around you.
Our nature is to find that joy, that fulfillment, that, whatever you call, in simple things.
Ever since we lost Carlos Javier, family has taken a different meaning.
We saw clouds just kind of forming and being made and floating into the sky. And Finn said, "What's that, Dad?" And I said, "Finn, that's a cloud factory. That's where all the clouds of the whole world."
I think we get caught up in this illusion that we're separate.
We are together in such a simple way that there is full permission to be who we are.
It doesn't matter what's on the outside of people. It doesn't matter what their story is. It doesn't matter that they're rich or poor or black or white. Or what matters is that, like, they all want to be a part of something. They all want to be loved. They all have the capacity to be loved, even when they can't see it themselves.
It's a bit bright in there. I guess that's what means being in the spotlight. So here's kind of an admission. I didn't know quite what to do for TED, but I had this recurring dream as a teenager, but it's, as I said before, it's without a doubt, it's not what you think. It wasn't full of girls and rock stars and stuff like that. It was this. And it could have been, I could have deemed it as a nightmare, but for some reason it wasn't. And it was, I was somewhere like this, just here. If I go here, you'll still be able to hear me, which is great. So I was on the edge of a stage, kind of like this, and someone pushed me out, and there were all these people, and and I'm 14 years old, okay? So, and I just kind of stood there in these bright lights, and I could see like thousands of people, and I didn't know what to say. I mean, it was mute, and then it ended, so it was kind of like a nightmare. And then it would happen the next night, and then we'd take a few months break, and it would occur again. And it took me years to piece out what on earth that was about. And I pieced out what it was about. And so tonight, oh, it's actually not even night, is it? It just seems like it. But tonight, I thought I'd just give that a go. I don't know what I'm going to say next. And I know Gretchen's kind of rolling in her seat. But the reason I thought that would be a good idea is because that's what I put my film subjects through. Every time. There is nothing that you can do or say, well, not do or say, there's nothing you can prepare. So people get very nervous and they go, well, what's it about? What are you filming me for? Or they commission me and they say, I want to film about this. And of course I have no intention of making a film about this because I make films about human beings, and films about human beings aren't about this or that. There are films about human beings. They might end up as this or that. And so what happens is quite, or what I've been led to believe is quite unusual. And in fact, what I probably ought to tell you is how I stumble upon the nuance of this, of what you saw just a glimpse of there. And you probably really have to watch a full person in all their 8-minute glory or something like that to get the sense of them. But I noticed this after having worked in marketing for a long time. And I started in something before marketing, so that wasn't a conscious choice. And I realized that the very essence of marketing, or maybe you could call it advertising, or maybe you could call it sales, I think we had earlier in the day, we had a talk on that, is I am going to tell you, or any of you, I'm going to tell the world what I think it needs to hear in order to get it to do what I want it to do. Boo. It's kind of duplicitous. In a way, it's duplicitous. But very shortly after that, I realized something else, and that is most human encounters are exactly the same. I'm going to tell you, I don't know why I'm looking at you. Sorry. It's the lights. I'm going to tell anyone what I think you all need to hear in order to get a result. And that result might be something very tangible. I want you to buy something, or think I'm cool, or believe that I'm English, or which I am, of course. Or it might be kind of unconscious, the things that you can't touch. I want you to accept me unconditionally. I want you to love me, like me, all the kind of soft stuff you can't quite describe. And what I noticed was most encounters that I had, I couldn't see people because there were these words in front. And I realized there were two ways human beings talk together. Well, I can only do it from my perspective, but that's what I experienced. And much of what I experienced was the opposite, which is wonderful. When people don't know where they're going to start, or they start and they don't know where they're going to finish or where they're going to go next. And there is no, I say agenda, but it's more than that. There's no point to the conversation. They're not trying to get somewhere. The true art of conversation, I think, is you just go to there and then to there and then to there. And I realized that was really, really important. And what you got back, or what was experienced when you had a conversation like that, was quite extraordinary. And I also realized this other very, very, profound element. And that's one of witnessing, one of sitting still long enough to let someone actually tell almost what their soul is trying to speak. And one can keep quiet, but that's not really witnessing. That's just keeping quiet. You're listening to someone and you go, come on. I'm waiting my turn to talk, and that's very, very different. But there's this space between people, and there's nothing in between you and them, so there's no need. There's no need for the person to perform. There's no need for that person to be any different whatsoever to exactly what you see there. There's no need to make a good film. There's no need for anything. There's no opinion. Just because you look different to me, there's no opinion. That's okay. So it's almost like a state of not even being there, which is really odd. But when that happens, everything changes. And the self-consciousness that is usually there in conversations, and certainly there with cameras, fades. It just fades almost completely, and then it fades completely. And so that's essentially what I believe is happening in these portraits. And I call myself a filmmaker. I don't really make films. I mean, I film pretty much knee to knee, which is an odd, eye to eye. I worked out physically, you kind of be like that, and that's not right. But knee to knee puts you a little bit further away. But it's still a spooky space. But so I filmed that, and I only filmed that pretty much. And so I'm taking human portraits. So I'm capturing something. And every time I try to make it more complex, put more shots in, speed it up, do, 5-second cuts, or so that there were 5-second cuts in there. But that's the sequence, that's different. But the actual films, it's just space. There's space, because there's depth in space. There's depth in everything if you care to look down. and people need to process stuff. So it's almost the antithesis of media today. It's hard to watch, you know, and then it's not hard to watch. It's intoxicating. I know it's intoxicating for some because it's intoxicating for me. Because what happens is I'm sitting there and I have no idea. A bit like now. You know, I have no idea. I have no clue. So I'm going in and I know, well, I know you wrote books or you wrote songs or you're well known for this or no one knows you at all. I know nothing about you. And I kind of purposely do that because if I research someone, then I might have an opinion. It's really odd, is all I can say. And I don't have many slides on purpose. In fact, that was it. Apart from one sequence of faces, because I love I mean, human beings are so profoundly interesting, you know, especially faces. In fact, when I was thinking about, well, what do I do between the words, except there is not much between the words at the moment. And it must have been 7 years ago, I ended up in Guatemala and El Salvador and some places like that. And there was a challenge that I had, and one of them was to find film subjects that would come out. And it's kind of before I understood anything of what I was doing, which was actually a really nice place, because I never had a reason for doing it, I just did it. And I realized, well, whether I understand how it works or not won't make it work any different. So I just kind of went on and did it. And I was looking for a film subject, or my friend Edwin and I were looking for a film subject. He was along with me. And we were stuck, we were lost, totally lost in a place that I didn't speak the language, any of the languages there actually. And we heard about this midwife. And I kind of got excited. Someone said, oh, this midwife's amazing. She's delivered loads of babies. And I thought, well, of course she has, she's a midwife. And we knocked on the wrong door. We knocked on a midwife's door, but it was a completely different midwife who didn't speak Spanish. She spoke a language called, I don't know what it was called. Anyway, I didn't understand it. I know it started with a TS. And she led us into a house. And I usually film with just myself and just one subject in the quietest place I can find, with no lighting kit, with no fuss. It's just about space and time. But here we had translators. So there was a whole barrage of people along. And we all piled into this one-room house, which was amazing. It was kind of old stone, and there was shards of light coming through the roof. And I thought, oh, great. I don't have to find a window. The light's coming from the top, which is cool. And there was dust in the light, and it was great. And this old lady with this beautifully lived-in face was kind of sitting there. Turns out she was 68 years a midwife. That's a long time, you know. And she started young, obviously. And I mean, they were prolifically poor, apparently. I don't think someone told me she'd never actually touched money, like actually touched money. I mean, I didn't think that existed anymore. And so we set up, and you know, I was kind of knee to knee, and I was sitting there, but there were all these people around. But we got lost in this conversation, and it was kind of odd because she was kind of looking straight at me, and I was looking straight at her, but she was speaking, but her words then went to this guy sitting over there with this kind of straw hat on it, and he was whispering to his friend in the language that starts with a TS, to the guy next door, and he would translate into Spanish to someone else who would say it in English. So I was zipping back and forward, and I would say something, and it would kind of go around the circle. I was getting a bit tedious, so then we just stopped. And I had to pay attention to what she was saying beyond the words. And I kind of learned that in Guatemala, actually. I learned about beyond the words. And this most amazing thing happened. You know, there was just this one point where there was this extended glance. And it was, you know, we were close, and which I think is kind of key sometimes. And this extended glance, in it, there was just this immense understanding of something, and I'm not even sure how to articulate it, but I never forgot it. And I did make the film And I kind of almost, I think I spoke. It was like a long poem or something over the top, because I didn't really put the translation in because it seemed like it wasn't, it didn't seem right. But I remember the extended glance and the realization that, oh, I get it. And I know what it is, but I still can't quite put words to it. But like we're the same, or something like that. And there was this kind of, we both got it. I'm not sure everyone else in the room did, but there was this locked glance in it. And that was one of the first times I went, oh, I get it. Oh, so that's one. Oh, that's interesting. That's why I'm doing it. Okay. And I remember after, I mean, there's the drama of her life, which was, it was translated after, and it was quite interesting, but it was a smokescreen. The drama of her life, the story would get in the way of experiencing that. And that is probably the most important thing, that. And when we left, she wouldn't stop staring at me, and the other way around, which was kind of awkward when you're trying to get out of a house, especially a little house. And she ran down the street, and she just kind of ran the window, I ran the window down, and she was just kind of staring in, and she was saying something, but I knew what she was saying, but I didn't know what she was saying. And so it's kind of one of those haunting experiences. But those haunting experiences happen everywhere. Like everywhere I go, people go, wow, that was amazing. Well, it never happens, but it does happen everywhere if you let it. So I prepared in one kind of vaguely cheating way, in the fact that I write poems as well. And they're very short. Don't worry, I'm not going to sit and wax lyrical for hours. In fact, there is a clock there. What's that say? I've got 1 minute left. Ready? Have I been going 17 minutes? Holy moly. You see, when I make films, time stops. Okay, well, I was going to talk about conflict. I'm making a film on conflict resolution at the moment in the Klamath Basin. I'm ready, but it's not the conflict. It's about humans living together. And I think the way that I got it was by reading a poem to them over the phone, and it was called Two Fools in a Mirror, which I wrote on the way to giving a talk in Washington, D.C., in a big political hothouse. I don't know what I was doing there. But I wrote it on the plane on the way over, and it was just this idea of people not being able to see each other. And it's called Two Fools in a Mirror. And it goes in its very elongated 5 sentences. We won't have peace until both can agree, said the two fools on either side of an argument. We won't have peace until the other gives way, said each about their foe. But peace could never be had. Peace is an indescribable warmth that belongs to no one and to everyone. And its warmth would only be felt once each fool could face the mirror and recognize the other. If I'm ready at 18 minutes, that's it. Thank you.